what actually would help a person who is having a lot of thoughts in context to career, in context to life, that how should they, one person, either they choose A option and then they feel that B option would have been better, and then after choosing B option they feel that, oh, I if I would have chosen A, my life would have been like this. So for a person like this, what message do would you like to share?
If the person has grown up with a certain sense of awareness,
Mm,
uh, has had some time to really understand himself or herself, the person realizes that I am made for this type of work. This
mm,
is what I enjoy doing. These are my unique talents,
mm,
and these are also my weaknesses. And then, after having known oneself, especially the type of work in which one is not just good at, but also has a passion for. Now, which I define in this way that while you are doing it, you forget everything else.
yeah,
Khana pina bhul jata hai. You forget to eat. You forget to sleep. You're so involved that you don't mind going hungry. You don't mind delaying your sleep. Yeah.
yeah,
So that is the type of work. Uh, so that's what tells you that you have a passion for that, right? Apart from being good at that work. Then, having discovered that, one can try and see what is the type of career which one can carve around it. Rather than start with the career that I want to be this and then try and see whether I'm made for it. Better to reverse the sequence. First, see what you are made for and then carve a career around it. Then, having carved a career, try and see how can I tweak this career a bit so that it doesn't just help me make a living, but also makes my life meaningful. How is it that I can do something for others
mm,
through this type of a career?
absolutely.
So that should be again a conscious choice, even if that means uh, settling down for less of an income or
Mm,
doing something which may appear less prestigious,
mm,
which may not bring that much name and fame.
mm,
So settling down for giving up some of these more concrete and measurable things and making a conscious choice, because now the career is not just about doing what I'm passionate about.
mm,
It's not just about making a living, but the career is also for making life meaningful and making life meaningful to myself and creating a better world go together.
mm,
One cannot happen without the other.
absolutely. So, yes, this is so true that a person should actually able to decide on the basis of the passion towards the work or the activity they have. So do you think that that thing comes from the ego that tells us that, oh, I wish I regret this choice I have made?
Yes, that is the ego, and that I will make a conscious choice like this, that also comes from the ego. It is just a question of to what extent this ego has been illumined by our deepest self. As I was saying, that even on the spiritual path,
Mm,
when we are making a conscious choice to give a certain direction to our life, that is also decision of the ego that I am deciding this. Uh, the time to give up this much maligned ego,
mm,
although it's a necessity, the time to give it up comes when we find that it becomes an obstacle instead of a helper. Sri Aurobindo said that ego can be the helper and ego is the bar.
mm,
Now, it helped the person up to a point on the spiritual path also,
mm,
as it does in any ordinary worldly activity. But even on the spiritual path, it helps the person up to quite a long distance. But then there comes a time when the person finds that becomes an obstacle.
yeah.
The point at which it becomes an obstacle is that when the person finds that attachments to people, attachments to possessions,
Mm,
these start interfering with the choices that the person would otherwise make. Uh, Attachment to relationships,
mm,
close relationships,
mm,
uh, is something which can be difficult. But at the same time, not severing those ties can look like sort of stopping on the path midway.
yeah.
Further progress needs severing. Doesn't mean that you uh, break all relationships. Sri Aurobindo and the Mother's Yoga is not about that. But as the Mother says, that all those relationships which were based on that sort of attachment, based on uh, narrow considerations, they
Mm,
should all be transformed into an egoless kindness and goodwill.
Yeah.
So that egoless kindness and goodwill continue. But the ego part goes out. Once the ego goes out, the attachment goes.
Mm.
That is the major obstacle. So when one feels that attachment to worldly relationships is becoming an obstacle, better to realize that transform this into an egoless goodness and uh, goodwill and kindness.
True.
And the same way, possessions.
Mm.
Uh, we go on clinging to possessions so
Hmm.
that instead of our using those possessions, the possessions start ruling us.
Yes.
I have a house. If I don't live in it, what will I do with it?
Hmm.
If I give it away on rent, the tenant may not vacate it. So actually, you start living at the place where you have a house, and the house starts ruling your life.
Yeah, true.
Well, house may be a sort of an attachment which one is sort of easy to ridicule.
Hmm.
But then there can be more subtle types of attachments, like say attachments to books.
Hmm.
One may have a large personal library.
Mhm.
The person knows that the books that he has read, he will not reread. And the person also knows that the books which he has not read, he'll not be able to read in the rest of his life.
Mm.
But still, the person wants to keep them.
Yeah.
And we feel, well, that is an attachment which is quite good. No, we don't consider it. But then attachment is an attachment. Uh, a chain is a chain, whether it's a golden chain or an iron chain. Mm. So again, that becomes an obstacle. So when attachments to relationships and possessions starts becoming a barrier, an obstacle, that is the time to start shedding the ego. And by then, the person is in fact quite prepared for it. And therefore, shedding the ego again does not look like a great thing to do or a great sacrifice to be made. So it's only when it is almost spontaneous and actually not doing it because of previous conditioning becomes the only reason for not doing it. That is the time to shed that ego and let go of those attachments.
Yeah.